Okay, so just looking at these two phones, can you tell which one is which? Maybe, maybe not. They're very similar. Samsung Galaxy A55 and the Samsung Galaxy A54, and they also look like the Galaxy S24 series. The A30 series looks the same, like they look the same, but they've got some differences. Nonetheless, we're going to be talking about the Samsung Galaxy A55 and the A54, and just to remind you guys, the A55 is currently not available in the US, and as of right now, Samsung isn't looking to release it in the US because of their own reasons. I suspect it's probably because of the fact that there's a Galaxy S23 FE, and if they release this, it's going to eat up the sales of the S23 FE, or vice versa, like the S23 FE is going to just eat up sales of the A55. We're expecting a Galaxy S24 FE. So that's probably why they're not releasing the A55. It may just like fill in the A50 lineup here in the US. Nonetheless, we're going to talk about the two because you still can pick one up here in the US. And let's see if there's any improvements over the A54. So starting things off with the design, it looks very similar, and that's to be expected. It's not a huge drastic change, but there are some notable changes. So both of these do have a glass back and front. However, the Samsung Galaxy A55 now has an aluminum frame as opposed to the plastic frame here on the Galaxy A54. And this aluminum frame makes the phone feel just so much more premium. And I think that's what Samsung is going for with the A55. Both of these devices are IP67 dust and water resistant. When we come to the front of the display, on the A55, we're getting a 6.6-inch Full HD Super AMOLED 120Hz panel, whereas the A54 is slightly smaller at 6.4 inches Full HD 120Hz, and it's an AMOLED panel as well. And the day-to-day use with these displays are great. Like, you won't have any issues. It's a Samsung panel, 120 Hertz, it's fast, it's buttery smooth with the refresh rate included. Talking about the performance though, so design, like, we're putting that aside. The main difference is the slightly larger display and the aluminum frame, which gives it that more premium look. So design very similar, but there was key differences: aluminum frame, slightly larger display, and also with the front-facing camera. You can tell, and if you look really closely, like it's not circled around, it doesn't have that white bezels around the camera on the A55. So it's just something to note. Like, when I'm looking at it at angles from my point of view, I can see the small white bezel around the front-facing camera on the Galaxy A54. But yeah, it's a much needed improvement with design. Performance and software. So obviously there's improvements here. Galaxy A55 comes equipped with the Exynos 480, 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. You can pick up an international model with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage, but the base is 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. The Galaxy A54 comes equipped with the Exynos 1380, 6 gigs of RAM, 120 gigs of storage, standard here in the US, but you also can pick up an international model which now has 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. And I'll tell you, on day-to-day use with the chipset and with the amount of RAM, A55 feels so much more smoother, much better to use, less laggy, less stutters compared to the A54. This was an upgrade from the A53, but the A55 is also an upgrade from the A54, and it's probably going to continue like that with A56 and going onwards. Nonetheless, I can easily recommend the A55 if you're looking for an improvement in the performance with the chipset and with the RAM included. If you want to go international model and get 12 gigs of RAM, that's going to be even better. Now, both do have micro SD card expansion support, something that flagship devices don't have nowadays, which kind of is weird. I mean, if they're having it with these devices, why not add them to flagships? That's just my personal opinion. Galaxy A55 and the 1480, Exynos 1480 chipset perform much better than the 1380 found in the A54. That's to be expected, but I still wish that they would put in like a Snapdragon 7 Gen, like a mid-range chipset that performs much better than the Exynos. I don't know, I just haven't been a huge fan of the Exynos chipset myself. Now, remember though, for most of the part here, both devices they're great for both. Like, they get the job done for whatever you throw at it. Obviously, going into heavy intensive tasks that require more power, you're going to notice some struggle with both of them, regardless of whether one's running the 1480 or the 1380. That's to be expected. So for me, like, I can't personally recommend this to a heavy user, especially if you're going to be like switching from app to app very often. If you're a heavy user using heavy intensive tasks, playing lots of mobile games, these devices will work. It's just not going to hold up to your expectations. And also the fact that we have 4 years of software updates. Keep that in mind too. 4 years of software updates is not bad for these, because we still have flagships that are getting like 2 years, 3 years. Asus, for example, 2 years on their flagship devices. So it's good to see that Samsung is going to be supporting their mid-range lineup. But obviously, which one would I prefer and recommend in this department? Galaxy A55. So we're at 2-0 right now, at least, well, according to what I have experienced with both of these. Now with camera, we've got a triple camera setup on both. The A55 comes equipped with a 50 megapixel f1.8 wide, a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro, whereas the Galaxy A54 comes equipped with also a 50 megapixel f1.8, 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro. And they're great, you know, they're good. They get good photos and videos, like good results. You can't compare it to flagship, but you can compare it to one another. I think they do a really good job, especially for what you get. Samsung cameras have improved vastly in the last couple of years, and their mid-range segment, the A series, has also been doing pretty well. So just take a look at yourself on screen, and I think they'll do good for the most part. With my time working at Best Buy as a mobile consultant a couple years back, what I noticed is those who do pick up these types of devices, camera isn't necessarily like the main thing they pick up and buy a smartphone for. So for the most part, it will get the job done. And if you're looking to make content, I say this with pretty much every single phone, but the best camera is the one you have in your pocket. So if you're going to start making content and you have one of these in your pocket, go right ahead. I started with the LG G3 back in 2014, and now I've upgraded. Obviously, I use DSLR and whatnot, but I still use an iPhone 15 Pro Max, an iPhone 13 mini to record. Like, I'm still using smartphones to record my content and to share with friends and family. So you can do the same with the cameras. They're still pretty good. Battery life on both is also very good. They share very similar things with 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt wire charging, no wireless charging on either of them, and they just last really long, 7 hours plus easily on both of them. It lasts longer than some of the flagships I've used, like lasts much longer than Google Pixel 8 Pro, and you'd expect that to have good battery life. But these surprisingly do last really long. And if you're not a heavy user like me, and what I mean by a heavy user is like, I'm using my phone for everything. Like, I have my phone right here and I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm calling, I'm texting, I'm emailing, I'm playing games. Like, I'm heavily invested into getting work done on my smartphone as well. If that's you, then yeah, this will last you all day. But if it's not you, it's probably going to last even longer. You probably won't even need to charge it every single night, and that does mean a lot. So thumbs up for both of them in both the camera department and both the battery department. But things are actually kind of, they flip-flop, or they flip during the pricing category. And I say that because while the A55 is not officially available in the US through Samsung, you can pick up an international GSM model from Amazon, which I did. I got mine for about $430, which not only has improvements over the A54, but it's a little bit cheaper. I paid $450 upfront in the US from Samsung.com for the A54. So essentially, and this is still running A54 for $450 here in the US from Samsung. So I would personally recommend to pick up the A55 in that case. Now, the Galaxy A35 is available in the US now for $399. Let me know in the comments down below if you do want to see some content on that. And I think that essentially fills up the mid-range segment for Samsung in the US. Again, I think it's because Samsung doesn't want the A55 to eat the sales of the S23 or the upcoming S24 FE, or vice versa. That's just my assumption at this point. They didn't really disclose exactly why, but it only does make sense. But again, I would still recommend picking up the A55 or the A54 if you're in that boat of picking one of these two up. That is, you have to be fine with having a GSM only model like this. This is not going to work on Verizon, especially if you're like a person looking to pick this up in the US. I picked mine up knowingly because I do have T-Mobile and this does work with T-Mobile. I currently don't have my SIM cards in either of them because I am testing other devices at the moment, but they both work. Calls are good on both ends. I can hear the person I'm speaking with. The person that's speaking with me can hear me pretty clearly, but they do work. I don't know how connection is with other networks like AT&T and whatnot, but for T-Mobile, they work genuinely fine. Like I usually don't have too many issues when it comes to hearing the other person on the line. But overall, I think we have a clear winner. It's going to be the Galaxy A55 because we've got some notable improvements with the design and with the software and the performance, and it's a little bit cheaper here. I mean, I'm thinking if this actually did come to the US, Samsung probably, I personally would say price at $449 again, but it looks like maybe they'd go like a $499 type of thing. But we've got some competition, or I don't, but Samsung has some competition. So Google Pixel 8a is going to come out. We don't know the price, but we're hearing rumors of a increased price tag on that. There's a lot of things going on in the mid-range segment. Now there's like a mid-range, upper mid-range and whatnot. But nonetheless, A54 put aside, A55 is going to be that device that I would recommend over the two. And would you trust purchasing this on Amazon? I would. I had no issues purchasing this. I did an unboxing video of this. They even gave me a wall adapter, which you don't get here in the US. I would recommend this. I've shopped through Amazon for smartphones before. Amazon renewed, and I haven't had any issues whatsoever. So that's been it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope this did clear up some things right here. But if you guys did enjoy, definitely be sure to superman the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel a lot. It will help push my content out to more people. And also be sure to check the links in the description down below of these devices, as well as my latest wallpaper pack. It's called Urban Glow. Again, links will be in the description down below. They really do help out the channel a lot. That's been it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.